Let's move to this now. The University of Limpopo wrapped up the year by introducing its first graduates from its medical school. A 21-year-old is among graduates and is said to be one of the country's youngest doctors. For more on this, I'm joined by Professor Mahlo Mokgalong, who's the University of Limpopo's vice-chancellor, as well as Decent Mkhombo, University of Limpopo Medical School graduate. Gentlemen, thank you for making time for us, especially on Christmas Day. Good afternoon. Prof, I'll start with you. Now, 47 of the 60 students made it to the final year at your institution's medical school. Now, this sounds like a major accolade. What was your initial reaction to this great feat?
Well, it was quite exciting, especially because, this is a culmination of a journey. To train a medical student, it takes 6 years. And 6 years of hard work. And fortunately, as the first cohort, our students were quite dedicated. Yes, I think of the 60 we started with, unfortunately, we lost one who passed on. And we have got a few who will have to repeat a module or so. But it's quite exciting, it's quite heartwarming that of that number, 47 of them completed, right, including Junior.
And let's speak to Junior, who's one of your outstanding medical students. Decent, judging by what I've read about you, it seems that your feat came with quite a lot. I mean, you've had to skip quite a number of grades, and also seemed like you also flew through your high school and also making it to university as well. Speak to us more specifically about your university experience at the University of Limpopo.
Well, thank you for having me first and foremost, and Merry Christmas to everyone watching. Yeah, my journey through the institution, it wasn't all roses, One could say that I did fly past, the lower levels of education, but medical school was truly a challenge, both academically and personally, And the vice-chancellor on our oath-taking, he mentioned that the university is about training people, so that you don't just become a professional, you also develop as a person. And that had to happen. It has its ups and downs, but it had to happen the way it happened. And I'm glad we came out in one piece, the 47 of us.
Let me go back to the Prof. I'll take the words of Limpopo Health MEC, Dr. Popi Ramathuba, who said it was very important to have medical schools in Limpopo where the health system caters mostly for rural patients. Prof, just give us your thoughts on the sentiment shared by the MEC.
Well, like I already said before, it was a blessing for the region for us to have a medical school on our side. Firstly, when you train health professionals, especially doctors, you need specialists.
Right.
At our training platforms now, we have got specialists in all disciplines. And this is good for the province because over and above training the youngsters, they do service. They do work as doctors in our hospital platforms. It used to be really something unpleasant to see a number of ambulances carrying patients to Gauteng hospitals, especially George Mukhari Hospital in Ga-Rankuwa. Now, that's a thing of the past. All the tough, all the diseases, operations, they are now performed in the province. And those are some of the advantages of having a medical school at your doorstep. Those specialists are the ones who are assisting. And that is why the youngsters who come out there, we're confident that they know it all. I mean, if you have been trained by renowned specialists, what more do you need?
Right. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic, Prof, has also kind of highlighted the need for more medical healthcare workers in this country, especially more at specialized fields within the medical fraternity. Just speak to us about your own reflections, rather, since the outbreak of this pandemic.
Well, it was a challenge to all sectors of society. Education was not left behind. We had to adapt and adopt new working and teaching methods. A lot of things were done online, but fortunately, because of the number we have in health training for health professionals, all of them were brought back to the university. They were brought back to the teaching platforms. And of course, young as they are, they had to be encouraged at some point to vaccinate so that they can protect themselves, because they had to go in and meet with patients. Some of them were infected. And I'm happy to say we came out well.
Right.
We have got quite a number of health professions. We're doing pharmacy, optometry, medical sciences, didactics, and all of them, we took them through that kind of training and preparation. And like Junior said, University of Limpopo, we don't just want you to come out there in this mind full of books. We develop whole persons. And that is why they went out to even convince and have discussions with their fellow students to say, be careful.
Right,
COVID is there and it can kill. Please look after yourselves.
Decent, we've heard from the Prof there speaking about just some of the interventions that had to be put in place to ensure that that learning could continue as smoothly as possible, even in the midst of a pandemic. Take us through, rather, your experience during this time.
Me?
Doesn't seem like that Decent could hear us speaking to him. Decent, can you hear me there?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. You were saying?
So basically, I was asking about your own experience. Judging by what the Prof was saying, a number of interventions had to be put in place to ensure that learning could happen as smoothly as possible, even despite just the impact of the ongoing pandemic. Talk us through your own experience during this time.
Okay. So on the onset of the pandemic, when the lockdown started, we were doing electives as my class, which electives are basically when they take students back to the rural communities to work in the rural communities. So when this all started, there was a lot of uncertainty. We were uncertain about the fact that should we get this, because at the time we were afraid that we were going to die. It wasn't what we know it as today, So there was a lot of concern around the fact that if we do die, our families, are they going to get remunerated, And online learning was put in place, and that really helped. But, it's not pragmatic for doctors to be training online, with books and screens, because you need to be with actual patients. So the university did well in terms of re-figuring out how to deliver this information to us and how to re-assimilate us back to the hospital setting. We got vaccinated and we were told how to behave in such a way as to minimize getting us infected. And that would, that was beneficial and helped us to get back to our program.
Let's speak about your next steps now. What can we expect from you, especially when it comes to your career going forward?
Personally, I'm just going to do what I can do. I'm going to be doing my 2 years of internship in the local hospital here. And to the best of my ability, I'm going to serve the community. And I'm going to expose myself to as many things as possible so that I can one day decide which specialty I want to go into. But I definitely do want to specialize and, fill that gap you were talking about of specialists that are needed in this country.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both very much for your time again, for making time for us on Christmas Day of all days. That was Decent Mkhombo, who recently graduated with a medical degree from the University of Limpopo at the age of just 21. as well as the university's vice-chancellor and principal professor, Mahlo Mokgalong.